Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Can you hear it?
Thank you for that. I'm Lori Freischmidt, and I'm the Butler Town Historian, as well as the Historical Society Secretary-Treasurer. I'd like to welcome you to the dedication of our historic mural honoring Samuel Ringgold Ward and Antoinette Brown. I don't hear myself anymore.
You're here.
I'm here? Oh, good. I'm glad I'm here. I was going to say I haven't seen a crowd like this since we fought off the sludge project. But, and I think you'd agree that this is a much more positive project for the town of Butler. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the companies and individuals on our list of donors to the project. Without them, I would have had to paint the mural, and we would not have wanted that unless you enjoy looking at like prehistoric stick people. So, in late 2001, a group of like-minded individuals in Butler and surrounding towns got together as a restoration group to fix up the Butler Center Methodist Church, which became our church museum. From there, they moved on to restore the Rowe Cobblestone Schoolhouse just up on Route 89. And in 2003, the group received their New York State Charter and became the Butler Historical Preservation Society. And both the museum and the schoolhouse will be open for an hour after the ceremony if anybody would like to stop by and take a look. I became historian in 2020, but I have to tell you, I stand on the shoulders of all the people who came before me, whether they were historians, volunteers who worked on the restoration projects, or took on the job of fundraising and grant writing. I want to especially acknowledge my predecessor, Dorothy Wiggins, who with her husband, Dick, worked on all these projects, as well as writing articles and passing on to me literally bins of files on Butler history. We lost them both in the past couple of years, but I want to take this opportunity to thank their families for requesting donations to our society in their memory. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention the support of our town board, because I'll tell you, many towns do not have the level of support that we have. Recently decided to tear down the building used by their historical society. So we're very thankful for the help that our town board gives us. And I'd like to give a shout out to Dwayne Van Gelder, Jean Van Dusen, Chris States, and Dave Souls. Now, I'm going to shamelessly plug becoming a member of the Historical Society. I tell people that we're the best deal in Butler, if not the only deal in Butler. And we haven't increased our membership rates. Which is no small task. We don't charge admission to the sites or any of our events because we live in a small town and we want to encourage visitors as well as residents to share our history. We're also looking for trustees, so if you're interested in learning more about helping us out, our current board of trustees are around to answer your questions, and I want to acknowledge their work throughout the year. Our chairperson, Suzanne Beam, her second in command, Nancy Souls, wave Nancy, Roseanne Stewart, Marcia Slocum, and Aaron Petrosino, who cannot be with us today. So, when I became historian, I kept thinking, sorry, oh my God. Lori Howland. Okay. So, when I became historian, I kept thinking, what can I come up with for Butler, especially with our bicentennial coming up in 2026. I'd like to get a head start on things. So, I'd be reading the newspaper, and I would clip out ideas and steal things from other historical societies. And I started seeing this town was getting a mural, and this group was putting up a mural. And I thought to myself, why not South Butler? So I started looking around, because you have to find the perfect spot. Because people have, there's doors and windows to deal with. And I was coming home from Woket one day, and I came up over that hill on 89, and here it was. You could hear the choir singing. Welcome to the farming community of South Butler. I approached Dave Spickerman, our town supervisor at the time, and he agreed to let us put up one here. So that was September of last year, when I gave our first speaker a call, and speak right into it. Now you tell me. So, to tell you the rest of the story, please welcome Mark DeCracker from Mural Mania in Lyons.
No. Oh, Corey, you want to bring up my props? Okay. Well, it's great to be here today. Mural Mania basically got started in 2007. I mean, as far as we did a couple murals prior to that, but it was Sevens with my dear friend Noel Dobbins, and we met him at his dad's funeral. And probably those who have been around for a while have heard the story, but it's pretty meaningful that the passion that Noel had, that he said, someday we put the first mural up, we're going to be world famous. He said that. It's on YouTube. You can watch it, and we are, because of this and many other. And this is our first T-shirt we had. We need a new rendition. We're working on that. But that summer we had 4 murals going up in Lyons, New York. And with the dedication for the first one, 250 came up. So this probably is our second largest attendance on any mural dedication ever. So give yourselves a hand. So I'm driving home from Florida in 2008, and I was reading this book called North Star Country. It's about the abolition movement, and Finley and Samuel. And I read this story about Samuel Ward in Butler, New York. And I go, wait a minute, this is 1840s and he's a preacher to a white congregation? I said, this has got to be a mural. So it's always been on my back plate here. And it wasn't till, thank you, Pat Gorthy. You can't believe the timing here. I think Noel actually is watching over us, because Lori reached out to me, and a day later, Pat Gorthy, the Bindor Foundation is looking to fund something. I said, well, that timing is perfect, so we can make this happen. And so that it was March 31st when we put the first primer on these boards. And shortly after that, yeah, I know you're anxious to show what you did first, and I'll get to there. So some other murals that are close by is right up here in Savannah. That was a 2010 mural, which was always trying to help promote the area. And Montezuma Audubon had just opened up, so we wanted to put lots of birds and fish, and you can look at that mural, and there are 25 birds in it, various things to promote this area in Route 89. And then I get a call from Cheryl Longyear from Montezuma and says, how come we don't have a mural? And that was 2010, and then shortly after that, they got a mural and two more, and they just dedicated a parking lot over there for a beautiful, it's a great place to go kayaking, see the Richmond Aqueduct. So, and we have 30 trails in Wayne County, it's one of them. So, and then in 2016, we had the Global Mural Conference. I just wish my mural team was around to help me in that process, because Bev was one of the painters there, but that was a nightmare, because all the logistics trying to plan something for the whole world to see. But that was very successful. And it was 2019 where we got active again. We did the thank you to the Bindler Foundation. That was another, like, I'm seeing my dad in the hospital, and I had time to go over things, and I called Dorothy up. Is Bindler going to fund anything this year? And I said, well, you got to have it in by tomorrow morning. So you got to stay up all night and write a grant. So I wrote it, and we got the money for the Urger mural and the one on the Dipper Dredge along the canal there, canal path. So you've been great to promote this mural process to Bindler, who promotes music and arts of the community. So we got started painting those two murals, and then my Corey comes in and he starts painting with me and the Urger, and then we went on our own, and we started out with a lot of tape and measurements and to get that first mural done. But now we don't even use tape anymore. We just figured out how to paint without tape, which is great. Saves a lot of time. So then we just more murals started wandering into our picture here. I see Bev just showed up. She was part of the Savannah mural in 2010, and you can go see that on the way home. And Christina, right there, she was part of our team just recently. She helped us. She came in and helped us on the E56 mural, painted the barn, the red barn, and has gone on to paint one through the Domestic Abuse Center in Lyons, and also is painting on this one. Did a lot of the stained glass work on this one, and we've had some other artists that have been here. So it's been a fantastic journey in how active we are now. I think it took a little lull. We weren't painting a lot, but man, in the last couple of weeks, we don't stop painting. We never let the paintbrushes dry. We got another mural dedication coming up in Sodus of Prince Nelson. Did you know there was a tightrope walker that walked across in 1910 for Booster Day? I mean, come on. In Sodus? From Joy, New York, which is about, less people live in Joy than Butler. And, well, and also Granger, through Juneteenth, was from Joy. So that's a pretty cool story. And I just want to show you some of the stuff we use for painting. I can't say enough about this company, Golden Artist Colors. Fantastic paint. People say, will it last? Well, look at the mural up in Lyons across from the tavern. That's 15 years old, and it's only been varnished once. I mean, you know, this is a brush I used yesterday to paint cobblestones, which I think we have to paint 1,000 if I calculated right. And that, you know, sometimes we use big brushes. Sometimes we take whatever we can to have a paint palette. That's yesterday's paint palette for rocks. So you just mix them all in together. So I can't say enough about our support we got here for our team, and it's now I'd like to have part of our team come up individually just to say a few words. I'm going to start with the first painter on this mural. Bree, it's your turn. You want to show everybody what you painted? You did it! Come on. Remember, we rehearsed this. You go up there, show everybody the first brush strokes you did in your brother. She was 5 years old at the time. Yes. She painted the aisle for the church. And before, I might as well start. Bree, you want to say a few things to everybody? Sure? All right. Okay. I gave you your chance. All right. Okay. So then I'd like to invite up who wants to go next from Muralmanians? There was no chronological order. Corey? Corey Reynolds. Yeah, and Corey is, I'm so glad he came into my life because we needed one of the artists that has kind of dropped out that was helping us. So Corey came in. He's got a fantastic eye for perception and stuff. He's also a war veteran, and this painting really helps him up. And if you haven't seen the PBS special, Travels with Darlie, he was featured in there painting a mule with her. And that's a international show. So without further ado, Corey Reynolds. He's right up north of here, North Woken. He grew up.
Hello, everybody. As Mark was saying, I did grow up in North Wolcott, so I'm familiar with the area. I really like the culture that goes on around here, the farming and everything. The community is nice. I want to start by saying that I didn't get to paint very much on this mural, but I came in toward the later half of it. I helped out with the church pews and the Butler bicentennial lettering down there. I helped out with positioning some of the people in the pews. And I even got to know some history. Like, that's one of my favorite parts about being a muralist for Mural Mania. Because we're trying to preserve history, and everything that I'm involved in, it's really fascinating to me because I get to learn as I'm painting. So I'd like to start by talking about Samuel Ringgold Ward. As you know, this was a 1800s era, so we're talking about slavery and how black folks didn't get, handed things on a silver platter like many. And for him to stand up there in front of a large crowd like that in that kind of era is just, it's fascinating. He grew up into a family of slavery, and I believe it was in Maryland, and then he moved north up here to New York, and he became a preacher. He escaped slavery, and he's been through a lot of stuff. So he even helped free a guy, and in turn, that made him sort of a fugitive, and he had to go to Canada and whatnot to try to escape. But he's just been through so much, and as a man that has been through so much, and just to have the agility to go through so much more, even though he's been through the ringer already, it makes me think of this quote, and it goes like this: "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts," and that's by Winston Churchill. And now I want to go through and talk a little bit about Antoinette. The same thing kind of applies here with not being treated fairly as human beings. Women of that time frame, we're talking about before women's rights and what it entails to be a female in that era. It was just far different than it is now. And the courage that it takes a woman of that era to stand up in front of a congregation is immense. This was a time when women were stereotyped and criticized as not being equal to men. Antoinette Brown did just that. She stood right up in front of everybody, no matter how much criticism she got. So with that being said, I'd like to point out another quote I found, and it's as follows. "It took me quite a long time to develop a voice, and now that I have it, I am not going to be silent." And that was by Madeleine Albright. So, with that being said, that's about all I had. I'd like to welcome up Christina Lauber. She's also an artist, and here she is.
Short.
Just pull it down.
I think Corey really covered a lot of the historical significance of this. I don't have a whole lot to add other than was really honored to be a part of this mural. I think in a time where representation and quote unquote areas where unusual professions, it's really important for, you know, people of color and women in a time when representation of them has become really important. I think they were doing this back in the 1800s, and you want to talk about pushback, they were doing this in the 1800s in Wayne County, so you can imagine the pushback that they had. So talk about representation. I think this is what great models. I mean, what great people to model behavior after. I mean, it was an honor to work on this. So that's all I have to add. Bev?
Well, you know the history. One thing I think is quite interesting is, you know how small Butler is. It's a fairly small little place. But to think that back in the 1800s they were so much about equality. And I just think that is amazing, because you usually think of small little towns as being very backward. They were very much ahead of their time. And I commend Butler for that. I had a lot of fun working on this one, and we played with the faces many times. We changed the sizes and the shapes and did all kinds of things just to make it just the way we wanted it. And it's something in progress. But we did it, and it was such an honor to be a part of this, and I want to thank Mark for allowing me to be a part of that. And yeah, we go back about 12 years or so, when I did worked on the very first mural in Savannah with them. And from there, it's just blossomed. We've done Macedon and a few other ones, so it's really nice to be a part of all of that. And I want to thank Butler for allowing us to put some history here that people won't forget. You know, I mean, they'll see this, and now they're going to know. This is about your history. This is wonderful. It's something that you don't know when you drive through a town, but when you see these murals, it tells you the history, and there's a lot to it. So that's all I really have to say. Thank you guys for being here.
Hi, I'm Joy, also known as Corey's wife. I've been in the shadows for a while now, but it's really been an honor. This is the first one that I actually put paint on. So I'm honored to be painting with all these excellent painters. That they also have fun doing it too. But it was such an honor to, you know, learn the history behind all of it, and to think, wow, that came from this area. That's phenomenal. And they really did their history research to see. You can see Samuel sitting in the church pew with his family, but even back then he was sitting just with his family. So, you know, right down to the nitty gritty. It was a lot of fun. So thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Mark, Corey, Christina, Bev, and Joy. You saved me from a lot of terrible work.
Oh, I want to say, I'll just say one thing. There was another artist that helped us.
Yes, there was.
There was another artist that helped us. That she helped do the stained glass right here. This one here. She came up with a pretty cool idea how to do that. She took a little sponge and some silver paint to give that nice reflection. There you go. Thank you. So you are part.
Paint by number. Paint by number. That's my thing. I got to point out, down in the aisle, there is a basket that I showed to Corey, a picture of one of our Hibbard basket company baskets. And what did it take you? 10 minutes?
Probably.
To put, I would have still be there today trying to put that on there. But you put the little basket in the aisle and filled it with some flowers. So that's a little shout out to the Hibbard connection. Now, I think Dorothy Wiggins' spirit was with me a couple of weeks ago. I was at their estate sale, and I always gravitate towards the books, and I found a perfect copy of the 1789-1877 history of Wayne County. So to celebrate the upcoming county bicentennial next year, the Historical Society is raffling off chances to win the copy of the book. So if you stop by our gift shop, we're selling chances at $1 each or $2 for 3 tickets. And at the end, we'll have Dave pick out a winner. So make sure your name and phone number are on the ticket. Now I'd like to introduce Rosa Fox, our Town of Huron historian and co-chair of the Wayne County Bicentennial Committee with Gene Bavis, the Walworth historian.
Thank you, Lori, and good afternoon, everyone. And it's quiet. Wow. On behalf of the Wayne County Bicentennial Committee and my co-chair, Gene, who's down in Virginia enjoying some bluegrass music at the moment, I would like to congratulate Lori, the Butler Historical Preservation Society, the Town of Butler, Mural Mania, Mark, Corey, and the crew of talented artists who created these colorful panels, sharing yet another chapter of local history as represented through these public roadside murals, pieces of artwork. Our local history books, newspapers, and journals present a remarkable tapestry of stories from all around Wayne County. The written story holds that place in time through remembrance of people, sites, and events, by way of the writer's detail to facts. The visual connection and portrayal of this history throughout, however, is different. Telling these stories, shaping them through artwork, invites the viewer into the painting to wonder, explore, discover, learn, and celebrate the artist's subject. A major goal of the Wayne County Bicentennial is for residents and tourists alike to explore, discover, visit, and celebrate all that is Wayne County, past, present, and future. The Mural Mania projects most assuredly support and enhance that goal. The Bicentennial Committee appreciates Mural Mania's creative delivery to the community through sharing and highlighting our local heritage. These two prominent abolitionists, human rights advocates, orators, and religious leaders, Dr. Samuel Ringgold Ward and Antoinette Brown, later to be Brown Blackwell, began their journeys in social and political justice here in Butler. The portraits of these two trailblazers will hopefully motivate present and future generations who view this mural to learn more about these remarkable people, and may even inspire these future generations toward thinking and building their own civic justice trail. Now, I need to make just a couple brief comments on the bicentennial, or I won't get away with it if I see Gene next week. Wayne County was set off from Seneca and Ontario counties on April 11th, 1823. The Wayne County Bicentennial Committee has been gearing up for this celebration since 2018. Yes, and today, right now, at about this minute, we are only 199 days away from that milestone event. And my knees are shaking. Last year, in 2021, we released a 2-year commemorative calendar and a 60-page kids activity book that was distributed to all 4th graders across Wayne County. Next month, on October 11th, we will be releasing Voices of Wayne County, a 400-plus page bicentennial commemorative memory book from people's voices from all across Wayne County. Later in the fall, a bicentennial quilt created by the Reverse Curves Quilt Club of Williamson will make its debut. We anticipate both these projects will inspire more murals to be envisioned by Mural Mania. Right, Mark?
Yes, we're ready.
Okay.
Right, team?
Yeah, there they go. The big events planned for 2023 for the bicentennial are, of course, the April 11th event, the 200th birthday, which will be a celebration on the courthouse steps in Lyons with speakers, a historic marker dedication, music, and bells tolling across the whole county. Every place that's got a bell, they better be ringing. There will be a gala ball at Cary Lake on May 13th and a torch relay with 200 runners, 200 designated runners, there'll be lots more runners, who will run 200 miles in 5 days throughout Wayne County. That will be on August 14th through 18th in kind of coordination with the Wayne County Fair. It will start in Palmyra and end in Palmyra, and the runners can all come back and be part of that parade that happens that night, Friday night at the fair. A family fun day in coordination with the Wayne County Fair on Saturday or August 19th is being planned, and this event will celebrate again our local history with games, reenactments, displays, music, food, and much more. And it will include a mural painting in a tent, so there will be mural painting at the fair. In addition to all this, we're looking forward to the completion of Mural Mania's new project on 104 in Williamson at the Thatcher Building. And here comes Mark.
I do have a little picture.
Go ahead.
I think someplace here. Okay. There's a quick. This isn't painted yet, but we painted a lot of. There's more of these cobblestones. Corey and I painted like, I think 150 yesterday together. So that's going to be a cool mural.
It is going to be a cool mural.
I think we should have a contest. Guess how many cobblestones are going to end up. And do it soon.
You go for that, Mark. That's good. That's good. So when that dedication comes, we'll be sure to let you know. But in the meantime, if you're on 104, be sure to drive by. And I'm going to ask you, Mark sends me great pictures of the mural in progress, but his pictures, other than Corey and Joy, and maybe Jean Bell a little bit, I want to see some action pictures of Mark painting too. So if you drive by and you see people painting, please send me a shot.
I got one eating a donut.
Yeah,
No,
I've got
is that
that one.
payback?
That's posted. That's posted, Joy. Mark, Corey, Mural Mania folks, Lori, Town of Butler. This has been great. You guys have done an awesome job. Mark and Mural Mania folks, I think the bicentennial will provide you folks with plenty of subject matter for Wayne County for the next 200 years.
Okay.
So you're not going anywhere.
Hear that, Bree?
Congratulations all. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Rosa. Salute the garbage people. There we go. We do have order forms for the memory book at the table, if anybody's interested in that. Now I'd like to invite to the podium Minister Earl Green, who is the president of WARE, which stands for Wayne Action for Racial Equality, who is going to tell us about the first of our mural honorees, Samuel Ward.
Thank you so much. I am thrilled. You just have to know that I am just elated about being here. And Mark, I'm loving your energy. I mean, you have to be really energized to do this kind of work. And it's a work that is dear to my heart. I'm an artist. And I actually went to college to be an art teacher. But then a girlfriend changed my mind, and I became a behavioral therapist. So, but you know, so much has been said about Samuel Ringo Ward, and I was going to read this entire thing, but you know what? It's not necessary. I'm just going to encourage you all to really. I have a cousin that you can talk with and get any information you need. His name is Google. I call him Cousin Google. And I ask Cousin Google anything and I get all the information. But one of the things that impressed me about Samuel Ward was the fact that he was so gifted in so many areas. He was not only an abolitionist, but he was a journalist and a lecturer, a pastor, and he studied medicine and law. He traveled from here to Britain, spending time in Jamaica. As a matter of fact, there's a story that says that he was offered 50 acres of land in Jamaica, and he spoke. Let me see here. I underlined it. Yes. And he first served as a pastor and political advisor to a group of Baptists in Kingston, Jamaica. And, you know, he spent so much time affecting the lives of people, particularly those people who were enslaved and those who he would help to free. He was a contemporary, somewhat, of Frederick Douglass. And although history shows us they did not carry the same views, he was somewhat in opposition to some of the things that Frederick Douglass would teach. But at the same time, one of the things that they shared and they had in common was freedom. The freedom for African American people. The freedom for people to be able to live their lives free. Now, one of the things that I thought about is the climate that we're living in right now, this political climate we're living in. We have people who want to deny the history. I applaud Butler for doing what you're doing. Our children need to know the history. They need to know that it's okay to speak up, to advocate, to be a voice for people who had no voice. It's okay to stand up for what is right. So in this climate, I find myself, part of what I do besides being a pastor in the Church of Christ in Newark, and by the way, I learned that there was a Church of Christ here in Butler some years ago, and one of the things I learned is that I don't spend my time debating with people about history. It's important. I compare that, me spending time and energy debating with people about critical race theory, about the reality of slavery, about the history of America. I compare those kinds of discussions to the story of the tiger and the donkey. I don't know how many of you ever heard the story of the tiger and the donkey. Well, there was a heated argument between the tiger and the donkey. The donkey told the tiger the grass was blue. And the tiger argued with him, no, the grass is green. The donkey says, no, everybody knows the grass is blue. So the discussion got real heated. So the donkey said, well, let's take this to the lion. So they went to the lion, and the donkey says to the lion, he says, Your Highness, would you please tell this tiger that the grass is blue? We all know the grass is blue. And he keeps insisting that the grass is green. So the lion looks at the donkey and he says, Mr. Donkey, if you believe the grass is blue, then the grass is blue. And then the donkey got excited about that. He says, thank you. He says, I told you the grass. He said, now I think that you ought to punish this tiger. So the lion looks at the tiger, and the tiger looks at the lion, and the lion says, Mr. Tiger, I punish you to 30 days of silence. The donkey got happy and went on his way. So the tiger approached the lion and says, Your Highness, why did you punish me? We all know the grass is green. The lion looks at the tiger and says, Mr. Tiger, I didn't punish you because of the color of the grass. I punished you because you are an intelligent creature and you wasted your time and energy arguing with an ass. So I don't engage in debates about the issue of race and racism and the history, because our history is rich. Our history has shaped who we are today. And when we embrace that history, when we're able to share that history, when we're able to let our children know that they have people who they can look up to, they have people who can be role models for them. Samuel Ward is a role model for me, thinking about all that he accomplished. And one of the things that Samuel Ward and I have in common is that when I first became the pastor of the Newark Church, for my first 3 years, the people in Lyons and the people in Newark identified me as that black preacher of that white church. I had to endure that. And I had to deal with being a pastor of an all-white church. So yes, within the church, there was racism. Within our community, there was racism. So rather than getting into debates, we do things like this. So I commend Mark and his whole team for what you're doing. You're preserving history. You're preserving a jewel for our children. And so, as the president of the Wayne Action for Racial Equality, I endorse, I applaud, and I am grateful to you all for what you have done. Many people look at Wayne County in such a negative way. But over the years, I've learned to love this county. I love the beauty of it. I love the history. Because everywhere I go in Wayne County, I can trace the history of the Underground Railroad. I can trace the history of my ancestors. And my ancestors does not go back to slavery. My ancestors goes back to Africa. So I listen to those kings, those queens. I listen to the empire of Africa. I listen because what we have here in America today is what came from the motherland. Can I leave you with just this one thought? Everybody standing here today, everybody standing here today are descendants of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Earl. That was great. Now, I have a history mystery for you. In Samuel's autobiography, he speaks of a son, Samuel the Younger, born in October of 1838. So the boy was 3 to 5 years old when Samuel writes about a demise of the darling child I buried among them, which means he buried a child here in Butler. And I've spoken to people who've tried to figure out where he's buried, but we quite haven't gotten that figured out, so that's my challenge. Now, 169 years ago, Antoinette Brown was ordained down in little old South Butler as the first female minister in the United States. Think about that for a second. It's
not just one guy.
And I'd like to introduce Marge Perez, who was the Wayne County historian for 28 years, from 1972 to 2000. And she'll be telling us about our second mural honoree, Antoinette Brown.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me? Am I doing this correctly? Okay. have a tendency to turn away, and so you'll, yeah, whatever. All right, first I want to thank Laura for inviting me. It was really nice to be included. It's hard to believe that 50 years ago, I actually spoke about it, Antoinette Brown Blackwell, in South Butler. I don't know exactly where it was held. And I brought with me a lectern that is in the collection of the Wayne County Historical Society that was said to have been the lectern that she used while she was here in South Butler. That's what I was told. I don't know if it's true, but I brought it anyway to the event. I actually thought, I wonder if I still have the paper work behind the presentation that I made at the time, and I decided I'm not that much of a pack rat, so I didn't really find anything. While preparing the remarks for today, I was trying to imagine what South Butler, what life was like in South Butler in the 1840s and the 1850s, during the time that both Samuel Ringgold Ward, an African-American minister, and Antoinette Brown, she was still around at that point, a white woman aspiring to be a minister, were called both to preach at the Congregational Church. What did the community look like? An 1853 map shows that, well, at least it's not as detailed map, but it did show that it looked like there were about 60 buildings in South Butler. And that it included those that were identified. There was a store, a Baptist church, a grist mill, a sawmill, a hotel, and a blacksmith shop, and a store. Now, those are just a few that were identified. 5 years later, in 1858, there's another wall map. And in that map, there's a sort of a special inset map, and there is one for South Butler. And in that map, there appear to be approximately 80 dwellings. So this is a sizable community. It included, let's see, in that map, there was a Baptist church, a Congregational Church, obviously, multiple stores, a tannery, a blacksmith shop, a lumberyard, a sawmill, a grist mill, a hotel. There were approximately 400 people that were identified that lived in South Butler. I'm going to say South Sodas, but I meant South Butler. It would be noted that in Savannah was so small at that time it didn't demand a insert. So Butler was a sizable little community. But on the surface, South Butler looks like any ordinary bustling crossroads community servicing an agricultural-based population. But obviously it was so much more. Antoinette Brown was also much more than just an ordinary young woman when she arrived in South Butler. She was born in 1825 in Henrietta, New York. Miss Brown had attended Oberlin College between 1847 and 1848 with the goal of becoming a minister, to study theology, but only to find out that the male-dominated ministry could not seem to open their minds to allowing a woman to join their ranks. Unable to become a minister, Antoinette instead joined the ranks of the anti-slavery lecturers, while also advocating for temperance reform and women's rights. She began to make a name for herself among reformers of the day, and in the spring of 1853, members of the South Butler Congregational Church invited her to come to their congregation to serve them as a pastor. On September 16, 1853, Antoinette Brown became the first woman to be ordained as a mainstream Protestant minister in the United States. Those in attendance included Gerrit Smith, the noted abolitionist, and is he in the mural?
Garrett is, yeah, right there.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. And the Reverend Luther Lee, a Wesleyan Methodist preacher, quite a renegade among the Society of Wesleyan Methodists. Mr. Smith praised Antoinette Brown as a wise, he quoted, I'm quoting here, wise, strong, loving, and faithful. He added that, quote, I cannot but rejoice that you have chosen a woman as your pastor, that you have resolved to breast the public sentiment and to evince your disregard for stupid, mean, and vulgar public prejudice.
Yay.
So that was Garrett Smith's reaction. Now, the Reverend Mr. Lee's sermon, he quoted words from the Galatians, quote, "There is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Christ Jesus." Now, I did print out the Reverend Lee's sermon, and I thought I might bring it and read it to you, but I think it would probably take me about an hour and a half. So thank me for that. But I do want to quote a couple, just give you the gist of it. He went on to say, and I quote, and, you know, he says, "Females have a God-given right to preach the gospel," unquote. Amen. But Antoinette Brown remained in South Butler until the summer of 1854, when she appears to have had a crisis of faith. It wasn't that she didn't believe in her religion any longer, but she questioned her ability to reach out to people as a pastor. She returned to her parents' home in Henrietta, and after a while she returned to the lecture circuit, but left behind her pastoral duties in South Butler. In 1855, she married Samuel Blackwell, but marriage and family did not stand in her way. She continued her activism. She wrote. She had an incredible correspondence with Charles Darwin. She was really an interesting, fascinating woman. She died at the age of 95 in Elizabeth, New Jersey on November 5th, 1921. And today we remember what Antoinette Brown Blackwell did for South Butler, and in turn what South Butler did for her. Thank you.
Thank you, Marge. Marge was kind enough to donate copies of 2 of her books to various Wayne County historical societies to sell in order to raise funds. We have them in the gift shop. And Marge told me she'd be happy to sign them afterwards if you'd like. And I've just found out that our current county historian, Peter Evans, is also here. So I'd like to thank him for his work with the current county history. Next up, I'd like to introduce Joan Youngman, who was my predecessor as Historical Society Secretary and organizer of our annual Advent program, which is returning this December. She gathered members of our local church choirs to perform a song for us today entitled "Open My Eyes That I May See." Joan?
Oh, do you want me to? Here. No, I'm not. Pick them up.
Open my eyes that I may see glimpses of truth you have for me.
I'll get it.
Thank you, Joan. I'd like to introduce the group here. Marcia and Phil Waterman, Jocelyn Van Gelder, Charlotte Alertia, and Lorraine Searle. Now I'd like to introduce Brian Manctolo, our New York State Assemblyman, to say a few words.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and what a gorgeous day. Absolutely gorgeous. And as I stood back and listened to everyone speak, and of course the chorus that just sang, God bless you, because if I just told the gentleman in the back, if I could ask God for one gift, I would love to be able to sing. Because I cannot sing, absolutely cannot sing. I can hum, but I cannot sing. So as I looked over the group today, and as we watched this ceremony, just thinking about the history that took place here so many years ago. And it was remarkable that she was out of Henrietta, because I was actually in Henrietta before I got here today. And just that coincidences of things that happened. I'm sure I traveled much quicker than she did back in those days. But to everyone that was involved in this, and Mark, you and I go back for a long, long time. I was actually with Mark when they started working on the first mural. And in Albany, it's really a blessing to be in Wayne County, because Wayne County is really unique. We have the heart and soul of what people in New York State are. And we think about this and the small things that we do. You know, we may think of this as a small event, but in history, in the future, this will be remembered.
Hey, you're a farmer.
I was a farmer, so I understand. So, but you know, I was looking at the painting and thinking about the individuals that were in those pews that day. They got to hear the first message, and I'm thinking here today as we sit here and stand back and listen to what was going on then, what's happening here today, and what will history be in another 100 or 200 years? Will we all be part of a mural from our backside looking at what we're doing here? The possibilities are here, and it could happen. So to all the painters, thank you all. To all the historians and all the hard work and the volunteers, this is what it's about. This is what it's about, to make history and be part of history. So thank you for allowing me to be here this afternoon for a few moments. Thank you, Mr. Spickerman, for allowing me to be part of this as well, sir. Dave Spickerman and I go back for quite some time serving on the Board of Supervisors in Wayne County. Garbage truck. So again, enjoy the day, enjoy the moment, and again, thank you for all of you that participated. Thank you for all for being here, because this is a historical event. The past, the present, and the future. God bless all of you. Have a great weekend, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, the town of Butler is really spread out, and it's hard to bring folks together. There's many families who have lived here a long time, and I ask that once the program is over, I invite you to introduce yourself to me, because I'm always looking for more stories and photos of families and Butler memories that you have. Now I'd like to introduce our final speaker, the newly elected Butler Supervisor, Tommy Metler.
I want to thank Lori and all the historians for doing what they do, because without them we couldn't keep history alive. And history is important, and it needs to be protected for future generations. Talking about history, we have, like Brian said, this is history in the making. And there is a man here today that, as far as I'm concerned, has made history. And that's Dave Spickerman. Dave is an awesome guy. I've known him pretty much my whole life. I can remember going to the first caucus for Dave when he was elected. And he has helped me tremendously. He has served the people in the town of Butler for 33 years. And not just the town of Butler, but Wayne County as a whole. And what Dave has done for each and every one of us is to be commended. He's helped me tremendously, and I'll never fill his shoes. And he has been gracious enough to help me through some of my difficulties. I am going to tell a little story, though, real quick. My first committee meeting at the county, I go in and sit down, and the chairman of the board said, "Mr. Mettler, what color socks do you have?" I'm like, "Color socks?" He said, "Yes, what color socks do you have on?" So I pull my pant leg up. I said, "I've got black socks on." He was elated because Dave refused to wear black socks for 33 years. But with that being said, Dave, thank you for everything, and thank you all for coming today. Thank you for the service you've done for our community and the county, and you'll go down in history. You will. And thank you. Yeah. But with that being said, Dave, would you come up here and help me unveil this? I've got black socks on. There we go. You stand right here. I'm going to read over here. Okay. Dave. Samuel Ward, born 1817, passed away 1866, came to South Butler in 1841 and was invited to preach at the Congregational Church, making him the first African-American minister in Wayne County. He left due to medical reasons in 1843. This is a quote from him. "I pray that my people may be saved from hatred, made forgiving. And for the whites of America, my highest wish is that they may all become like the people of South Butler." On July 4th, 1853, Antoinette Brown, born 1825, passed away in 1921, spoke in South Butler and was invited to become the minister at the Congregational Church. She was ordained September 15th, 1853, making her the first female minister in the United States. I have accepted a call to the Congregational Church in South Butler. It is a poor and small church. It is what I want. Although it rolls upon the spirit a burden of deep responsibility. The Butler Historical Preservation Society honors these two groundbreaking individuals who overcame societal difficulties of the times and the citizens of South Butler who had foresight and decency to welcome them. This mural is dedicated to former Butler supervisor Dave Spickerman for allowing the Butler Historical Preservation Society to place this mural on his building and for guiding the town of Butler for 33 years. We want to thank Mural Mania for their artistic talents and effort in creating this inspiring mural. The heritage we share is worthy of our best efforts to preserve it. Butler Historical Preservation Society, September 2022. Thank you, Dave, and thank all of you.
Lori mentioned it, and I thought it was pretty cool.
You want to say a few words?
Yeah.
Get right up there.
Yeah. And just the middle of the store is the old schoolhouse that's sitting down there on the corner, so there's all kinds of history.
There is. I come in here as a little kid when Marvin Crane had it. My great aunt worked at this store, and then when Dave purchased it, he kept it a store. You know, there's a lot of history here. Yep, it is. Simply amazing. So thank you all.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thanks, guys. We'd also like to thank Rick Robinson, our town highway supervisor, for the tent, and Jerry Lasher in the Woolgate Fire Department for helping with traffic control. I'll give folks a chance to purchase the book raffle tickets. So in about 5 or 10 minutes, we'll have Dave pick the lucky winner. So, did I mention cookies? Well, we've got cookies homemade by the society. So if you have time, stop by. Also, the museum and the Cobblestone School will be open for an hour to check out our history. And now Mark will close out.
Yes, I just want to say, talk about coincidence. This is the true story. I know Brian brought that up, but we're painting the mural, and we had to separate it, because one thing mural mania is like, we feel like we're gypsies, because we've had to move so many times and paint in different locations. So we had to set this mural up on 2 separate areas of a building in Honest and over in Newark. So Christina is painting your grandmother, and Corey is painting your grandfather. And when we put them together, they matched. Are you kidding me? Come on. I don't know how. Somebody's looking down because something happened that was pretty special there. So, wow, you didn't even know that, did you?
No, I did not know that.
Oh, it's a nice little surprise. Bree, do you want to show where your dad is and you in the mural? Go show him. Okay, my son-in-law is yeah, go show them where they are. Okay. I'm going to move the tent a little bit. Yeah.
Good job.
Her dad is an ordained minister, so he hasn't preached yet, but I thought that was pretty cool. We gave him a beard because it's 1850s, okay? So, okay, I have a song I'll close with that's called God is Watching You. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out today. And like I said, we've been busy painting other murals at the same time. So does Canal View and the Bicentennial. So please do stop by. And some days it gets cold and rainy out there. So if you got a coffee, please bring it by. Or those wonderful sunny donuts. I think we've only been painting on that a week. Is that right about everybody?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a song I sing in nursing homes and various facilities, but I always like to close my day with it. Close your eyes and fall asleep, for God is watching you. A playful day with tired eyes, oh, the Sandman counts my sheep. The sun is set, the moon is up, frost is on the sill. Close your eyes and fall asleep, for God is watching you. Gemini, Orion in Pisces too, Leo and Taurus in Virgo, Scorpius, Pegasus, and Cancer too. Oh, the stars are watching you. Close your eyes and fall asleep, for the stars are watching you. A playful day with tired eyes, oh, the sandman counts my sheep. The sun is set, the moon is up, frost is on the sill. Close your eyes and fall asleep, for God, oh God, oh God, oh God is watching you. Thank you, everybody, and it's been, like I said, this has been one of the best mural dedications ever. I appreciate everything, and Butler is on the map forever. Okay.
Only because I'm sure all of you at some time or another have been in a church, and you know you're very much focused on what the preacher is saying, but you ever notice that the kids are not really focusing on that so much? Well, I put a little boy in there, and he's laying down and he's looking out the other way, but just beyond him, you can't see it too well, but there's a little gray spot down there. Look really close. There is not one church that doesn't have a church mouse.
Thanks a lot. Take your time. If you want any questions about who else is painted in here, Hubbardson, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
We've got Jerome Hibbert is in there, if you can find him. Where is Jerome? Go ahead. Take the card. Okay, there's Jerome. And James Garfield, if you didn't know this, before he became president, James Garfield was in town. He was invited by one of his college roommates to come speak, and he spoke at the Church of Christ Disciples Church. And then at some point, someone said, hey, let's go over and listen to Antoinette. And that's what they did. So there's another cool trivial fact.
And this is Garrett Smith.
Garrett Smith, yep.
Oh, okay. And there's other ones too.
Did I mention cookies?
Oh, yes, we all do.